Maybe I was wrong about Tears of the Kingdom. Maybe it's not shit. Maybe it's good. Maybe I changed my mind. Maybe I wasn't fair towards the game. Sure, it left me sour, but maybe I've been unfair. I have reasons to believe that. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. The reason why I have been disappointed, I've thought about it. I have thought about it. The reason is because the marketing of the game. The marketing. Skylands high in the sky. So I think the game's going to have them. But no, of course. But that's the thing. The marketing and the trailers that are so good, by the way, that focus on the Skylands, on the story, all the cool, exciting bits. Maybe the trailers and the marketing have misled me. Maybe the reason why I had expectations about the game that were betrayed was because I was set up that way. And the game could never live up to the expectation I've had. So that might be the whole reason why I've been sour. It's not because of the game itself that is bad, even though there is fair criticism to be had over its different elements. But maybe that's because, maybe that is just because I put the game so high on a pedestal that it could never live up to the expectations. Because in the end, is the development team and the marketing team the same unit? No! As far as I'm aware, they're two different entities. That's four, more like two different entities. Two is not one. I did the math. That means that the marketing might have, well, wrongfully set the spotlight on the Skylands. It's all their fault, because the game was never built around the Skylands. You can see it while playing. It's all about re-exploring Hyrule. The Sky Islands are such a tiny part of the game. They're not the main focus. But now, if you look at the game itself while trying to get out of your head the hype and the already pre-made perception of it that you got from the marketing and all the elements outside of the game itself, if you take all of that away, the trailers, and you're left with the game itself, what do you have? You have a big game with a lot to do, with a lot of creativity. Something that is really quite advanced for the Nintendo Switch system. There's a lot to be loved in there. Sure, it is a sequel to Breath of the Wild, but here's the thing. It's not really a sequel. It's more of a reboot, I feel, because I also compare it to Breath of the Wild. It is fair to compare it to that game because it's a sequel, but at the same time, it's not. It's very similar because it is built upon the game. It is the same game, but instead of like this vertical progression, it's more of a horizontal one. That's, again, these hopes and dreams for the game that I had before it launched. I thought it would be wholly different from Breath of the Wild. Even though it was built upon the same mechanics, I thought it would have a whole lot of new things. But it's more of a sidestep, in a way. You could call it an evolution, but they take some stuff from Breath of the Wild. They take the runes from it, you know, the Guardians. The theme is not the same. Instead of just the Chic attack, you have the Zona attack, which is pretty much the same thing but with a different color. My guys, this is a sidestep. They clearly wanted to continue Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom was never meant to be its own game. If you just look at it, it's some sort of vision that they've had for Breath of the Wild, right? There's elements in there that have been added that they wanted to use for the DLC, but here's the thing. They couldn't exactly reuse everything from Breath of the Wild, which I think it's a shame. I think they should have kept the Chic attack, personally. You know, I'm missing the Guardians roaming around. But the game, in fact, it's a lot about the developers themselves wanting to finish what they started with Breath of the Wild. It's not so much about creating a whole new experience. I realized this as I've been making videos and I had impulses to make some that did not bring me success. but I still made them. You know why? Because I had impulses within me. So I made them. Was it a good move? Probably not. Probably not a good move. It cost me a lot of time and effort, and for very little reward. But I made them anyways, because I had the impulse, and I feel like they had this creative impulse to finish their job, to finish their vision, of the era of the wild. They wanted to finish Breath of the Wild. So even though the players themselves wouldn't necessarily maybe like that the game is not too different from Breath of the Wild, maybe the game was not really meant towards those who played Breath of the Wild, because Tears of the Kingdom clearly is kind of like a retelling of it. But I think it's all because they had this impulse, this creative impulse that artists have. They had to do it, otherwise within themselves, they would have always had this little itch in their hearts. We could have finished it. And here's the thing, Eiji Aonuma said, now they have nothing else to do in this world. I'm actually kind of wondering right now. There's clearly a lot more that they could do. But Skylands and all this? But here's the thing, maybe now they're done. The creative impulse for that point, for that game, for the finished product, now it's done. They're done with it. That makes a lot of sense actually. Now they want to get to the next thing, to the next Zelda game, which will be wholly different from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I think. Breath of the Wild is a great game in its simplicity, but it's definitely true that Tears of the Kingdom is a more complex game because of Ultra Hand and all the interactions with the elements and the environment and all this. There's definitely a lot more that you can do creatively in Tears of the Kingdom, and I think they might expect this creative element to keep players busy until the next Zelda game. In the end, Tears of the Kingdom, it has repetitive elements, of course, but I think that's because the game was never made to be played in very long gaming sessions. It's the Nintendo Switch, you can pause whenever you want, so you can explore, do a shrine, then pause for a bit before doing another set of shrines and pausing, because you have a busy life. Maybe it's, in a way, a bite-sized Zelda game. You don't need to do everything. Maybe the Skylands and the depth are pretty repetitive. In a weird kind of way, it's a design that might benefit people who do not play the game a lot, or sparsely, because then they can just play casually and just have a good time and not feel that they're missing too much, maybe? I don't know, that's maybe an argument can be made there. By the way, I'm kind of sorry that I'm all over the place, like my points maybe not be in the best orders, or maybe like my points are a bit vague, I'm a bit confused. I'm recording this video quite late. Tears of the Kingdom. It's a game about creativity, right? I mean, I just mentioned this before. The game is a big toolbox, a big sandbox. You can do what you want. I mean, in the limits of the rules of the game. But you can still have a lot of fun. It's all about making your own fun. The game is not necessarily difficult or like too complex. But maybe the joy comes into just breaking it. Maybe the joy comes into asserting your own creativity into it. I think if you want to appreciate Tears of the Kingdom, I think you need to get rid of the expectations of the marketing and the trailers and just enjoy the product. I think you don't even need to play Breath of the Wild to enjoy this game. Because as I've said, it's a retelling of it. It's Breath of the Wild 1.5. Not really Breath of the Wild 2, because it shares so much of its identity, but Breath of the Wild 1.2, 1.5. And in the end, it's quite a casual game. I mean, you have games like Elden Ring, which are very complex, very full, rich of lore and content and unique stuff. See, this Zelda game and Zelda in general is a lot more casual. And maybe it was good for the Zelda team to make this game, to acquire new skills, new knowledge, new ideas that they can put put in for the next Zelda game, you know, all the lessons that they got from this game and the criticism that they heard online, they can use it to make something really special for the next game that will come out on their next platform. I just feel like I have been too harsh on Tears of the Kingdom, you know, just a bit too harsh. Because it made me really mad inside my heart. How could they do this after 6 years of waiting? Bad sky, bad dev, bad story, bad game, sort of. But maybe I've been too caught inside my negative feelings to see the jewel that the game is. Because it is still quite unique in this industry of live service games. There's still a lot to be done in it. Does everything need to have a grand reward or meaning? Or can it just be fun? You know, I'm starting to feel a bit more mellow towards the game, because it was never going to live up to my expectations, and I should take it for what it is, and what it brings to the Hylian table. What do you think about Tears of the Kingdom now? I mean, it's been more than a year. Did your feelings over the game change? I mean, my feelings are starting to change. You know, I've heard people say good stuff about the game, and some people have brought some good points. Maybe I was just an edgelord. I mean, look at my hair. It's like I'm like anime. It's a good game. It's a good game in the end. I hate too much. I'm too much inside my own negativity, inside my own expectations, and maybe we all are. There is fair criticisms to be had over the game. That is true, but we shouldn't let all these negative emotions inside our heart sour us so much. Maybe we should still find love inside there for the game. You guys have a good one. Cheers, I'll see you next video, alright? We'll see what it will be about. Maybe about grass in video games, because I like grass and the sky and ocean, and I will certainly point at the most pointless details and make a whole video over any corner of any game's map. So cheers!